Hello and welcome to the Blackout Podcast, where I get to talk to amazing people who do amazing things. And today I have Yasmine Wasfy, the founder of Ange Mariage, and just a pretty awesome designer. Fashionista, actually, that's what I like to say. Thanks for coming to the podcast today.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Okay, so before we get into your label and stuff, where did the love for fashion come from?
It started when I was 6 years old, so it's pretty early. It started with me loving to draw, so I used to draw a lot, and then I don't know when, like I started drawing fashion, like dresses, and I was really inspired by all the fashion magazines that my mom would buy all the time. So yeah, it started from there, really drawing all the time.
So, like drawing, did you picture actually making them, or you just love drawing them?
I mainly loved drawing them. When I grew up, like when I was around 10 years old, I started having like folding scarves and
Oh, wow.
trying to, like form a shape with them and wear them.
Oh,
So it started like that. So, and it developed. But, growing up, like when I was in high school, I kind of left it. I
Why?
kept drawing. It was school pressure. I was also a professional tennis player. So I
Oh
would,
wait! Oh, we can't just cut past there. Like,
yeah.
so before we go back to the fashion, let's talk about tennis. What's the story there?
I started tennis when I was 7 years old.
Oh, so everything about you is
Everything very, very early, very early. And actually before that, I started swimming and I didn't love it. And then,
Why didn't you?
it wasn't for me. I don't know. I didn't love swimming.
Okay.
I love swimming, but not as
Not
sport.
just-
Yeah. So I started tennis, fell in love with it. I kept playing, and then I joined the national team in Egypt. And I had a very, very serious training almost every day. So
That's insane. Like, okay, what do you love about tennis first?
it's a very first of all, I love solo games, like
One-on-one.
not one-on-one, and then it requires a lot of focus and style. It's a very elegant game as well. Like it you have to have your own style, and yes, you have to be very stylish when you play, but also very intelligent. Like you have to focus and know and prepare your next move. So I think I love that about tennis.
Okay, so I mean, obviously there is, professionalism and training involved. But when you watch it, it's just people just hitting the thing back and forth.
I know.
What would your training involve? What would be the things you'd have to do to be able to make it look so easy?
Of course, a lot of fitness, first of all.
Oh
That's
my
a-
God,
that's a
yes,
huge-
because you're just running
That's
up
a
and down.
huge part of it. A lot of
Right.
fitness, especially for your arms. But it's also very strategic. I would say, like you learn strategy with your trainer all the time. Like when is it a good move to just play it slow, or when is it better to actually have a more tough forehand? And it's very strategic. That's what I love about tennis. And then style and technique, of course, that's also part of your training. So it's like these three.
Tennis is also like with all the tennis players, there's some fashion involved.
Yeah.
Did you ever was there ever a kind of cross for you?
That was also another thing that attracted me to tennis. I'd love to, pick my dresses and pick a different one for the competition, and also always, be in style. It's what was your question again?
Yeah, like was that also something that attracted you to
Yes,
them?
it really did. It really did. And at some point when I was at school, it came again to my mind. I was like, should I have a sports line for tennis players? It seemed like a good idea. But then
Yeah.
I went to the couture direction, which is a totally different one.
Like
Yeah.
classy.
More high end. Yeah.
Okay, so you're doing all the training and you're playing and playing. Why did you decide to join the national team? Like, that's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. Unfortunately, I did not stay a long time in the national team because I immigrated to Canada then.
Right.
And also I had an injury in my arm, and it's still injured. So I
From the
wouldn't be
thing?
from multiple injuries that weren't really well taken care of. And then so I'm not able to. I wasn't able to play professionally anymore
Oh
anyways.
my God. Do
But
you
yeah,
miss it?
it was mainly my trainer's push. Like he thought I'm really good to be in the national team, and then he just you should do your license. And yeah,
Do
it
you
was
miss
really.
it though?
I still play, like, but lightly, of course. But yeah, I do miss my training. I miss my tennis routine, like having a training every day.
You did high school in Egypt
I
and
did,
then
yeah,
came to Canada for.
right after high school. Like I did my landing in the last year of high school after the exams. Yeah,
So
my
you
last,
just finished high school, boom, Canada.
yeah,
What was the reason behind your move?
to Canada. So we immigrated as a family. Like we did our application as a family years before my high school, and to the point that we forgot about it. Yeah, and then I always knew I wanted to study fine arts, and especially fashion. I actually went to Dubai before coming here.
To where?
To Dubai.
Oh.
Yeah,
Wait,
and
so, okay, see, you know what? We are just going around.
I
But let's
know.
talk about Dubai, because that's one country I want to go to. Does it really look like what it looks in the, like, is it really like that?
It's actually better. It's very fancy. It's
Really?
but also you can. It's I think it's also in the media. It's always pictured as if it's only fancy and you only have to look a certain way to fit in. But I don't find it like that. I find like you really can do whatever you want. You don't
Okay.
have to be very like. I know it's a pressure on people,
Mm,
but and usually if you chose to live in Dubai and you love the Dubai lifestyle, you'd be a person who automatically love to dress up and you're
right.
into fashion.
Yeah.
But no, it's way. There are many other things that you can do in Dubai. Like you can have a walk in winter, of course,
Right.
and yeah, there are many other simpler places that are also beautiful. So it's not like you need
Okay.
to be a
Because,
diva to live
no,
in.
yeah, there is this there's this show on Netflix. I don't know if you know it, but it's called Dubai Bling. No, I think it's Dubai Bling.
I heard about it.
These people, like, they have, like, what? Is this real human beings?
There
Anyway.
are also these people in Dubai.
Okay, how long were you in Dubai for?
So it was mainly I was going every 6 months. I had like a PR there because my dad had a business there, and so I would go to keep my PR there, and also because my mom loved shopping there, and I was still young. I would go with my family, and then I would always go back to Egypt. But then when I wanted to pick a fashion school, I read about SMOD. It's a French fashion school in Dubai. And I was really attracted to it. So I went there and I applied. I met the advisor, did my portfolio for them, got accepted. But then at the same time, our acceptance for immigration to Canada came.
Right.
And I was like, oh, should I start looking for universities in Canada, or do I want to go to Dubai? I loved SMOD, like I loved the school, but I felt that I wanted something that's more fine arts focused, like not only fashion, but more textiles, like a little bit of art history. Like I wanted to immerse myself into the art world to be more inspired. I felt that this makes you a stronger designer.
Right.
And then SMOD did not really have that. It was very fashion focused, very, I would say, commercial, like exactly what to do to be a successful business owner in the fashion world, which is great. But I felt like it can be an addition to my studies, not the main thing. You know what I mean? And then so I was like, okay, let's look. Like our immigration was directed to Halifax. I was like, let's look what universities are in Halifax, and I fell in love with NSCAD and the program that they have. It's very rich. So I was like, I'm going to Canada. Whoever, yeah. And
So, I guess, I know you see it's rich, but rich in what way? What did you love about NASCAR?
it's very, so first of all, the first year is foundation year. You learn a little bit about every art department, not only one thing, but a little bit of everything. So you really have an understanding of color composition, you know, you have an understanding about negative space and how to work with that. Also painting, drawing, everything, photography. So you have an artistic foundation that leads you to be a better designer. So art history. So we had an amazing foundation course that's called Introduction to Visual Culture, and it's really culture and history and how people think, how people view things. So it was very, very rich, and I loved it, and it really inspired me. I even got a minor in art history after that because I really loved it.
So that means whenever you go to places, you have to check out the museums and stuff.
When you go
Whenever you visit any place, you'll be like, I need to check out the museum.
Oh, for sure. Oh yeah. I'm a museum girl. Like
Right.
even if like a friend's trip and they are not interested in museums,
like, I'm
go
gonna
alone.
go.
I'm going alone. I'm going. Yeah. Thankfully, my mom is also an artist and she's a jewelry designer and she loves that. So whenever I have like a trip with her, it's the best.
Because you know you're gonna check things out. So you finished our foundation year and then it's straight to fashion, or?
Yeah, so then you pick your department, and then if you have good scores, you are allowed to pick your department. And yeah, I picked textiles and fashion, and also that's another thing. So at NSCAD, it's not a fashion department only; it's textiles and fashion. So you have introduction to weaving techniques, printing, dyeing. You get to make your own fabric, and then introduce that to fashion. To your fashion collection, which is how I got Ange Mariage's idea, actually.
Well, let's just jump into that. So how did the idea come about?
So my graduation project was about hand painting on silk, and I developed a technique.
Why would you do this? Like, isn't silk supposed to be like, you know?
Yeah, there's a technique that actually makes it very see-through, very transparent, but also painted. Like,
oh my God, that looks like a lot of work, though.
It is a lot of work, and actually, they were like, my professor even was very. She was like, you need to be cautious about that. You will burn the silk, or maybe you. And then so I developed a technique with heat press that actually allowed me to do that. It's like digital printing, but it's done by hand, and also allows me to have my free hand style on the fabric, which is actually this dress is like has the upper part tool all made that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
so detailed too. So how did you? I guess you know where okay, it's your final project. You decide to make this thing. Where did the idea come from? How did you figure out that this is what I guess the best way to go to do it?
Like bridal, you mean? Like
no, like the silk design thing.
I don't know. I've always loved couture. And I've always, like a huge part of me loves luxury and quality. And
Dubai.
And also, my mom has a great sense of fashion. I grew up with her, you know, very fine pieces. And yeah, it's like, I think my parents hugely influenced that. Both are into fashion and in style and quality. So I grew up with, you know, things with quality around me.
Right.
So I love quality. And so that's why I took the silk and luxury, you know, route, because I wanted to present something that's really handmade, ethically made, but also it's made with love. You know, you put your heart into it. So it's not something that's mass produced.
Right.
It's very handmade, and I felt that bridal is amazing for that, because when you work with I worked as a bridal consultant. Before with David's Bridal.
During while you were in school, or
after that.
Oh, okay.
And then I got to meet a lot of brides and have chats with them, know their stories, and know what they really are looking for in a dress. And they all. So I got to collect information about what does a bride look in a dress, and how her dream gown, how she wishes that it's made. So yeah, I think it was like many experiences on top of each other that made me come up with, I want to go this
way. How did that final project come out?
The graduation one? It was amazing, and it was on the runway in the NSCAD Fashion Gala, and it was really, really well received. And my professor was really proud of me, and I was really proud of myself because it was a lot of work, a lot of tears.
Cheers.
Yeah, and I also I'm not a big fan of sewing myself.
Okay.
Like I sew and I do draping and everything, but it's
Wait.
the
What's
technical
draping?
part.
What is draping?
So draping is when a designer starts the design on a mannequin with fabric. So you draw your design, but also you drape it on the mannequin before you transform it into pattern. Wow. Yeah, there are different techniques. My technique is very freestyle. Like my studio is always messy, and I have, pieces of fabric everywhere because I like to cut on the mannequin, and it actually helps me come up with the final design even more than when I draw it. Because it helps me add to the drawing. When you work with the fabric in your hand, it's something that you need to touch and feel. So it's a part of the design process.
The name, what's the story there? Ange Mariage.
So I wanted my designs to be simple, very high quality.
I don't think this is simple. Come on.
Well, simple in the sense of it's very elegant, it's very different and unique, but also not like a huge train.
Right.
Nothing very heavy, not a lot of boning,
Okay, what is that?
It's like when you have like the bones in the dress to hold it in place, and then the bride is just, she can't move or take a breath. I saw that when I worked as a bridal consultant, and I've always had this comment, I wish it was lighter. I wish the material was not itchy. I wish it was shorter. I wish they had a second look that is shorter and lighter.
So you can take the other one off.
Or most people, especially after COVID, they have like a very small weddings and small receptions. So she doesn't want to walk with a 3-meter train dress and nothing. So I wish they would come to me as a stylist and tell me, I wish you guys had like a shorter dress that is very unique, but short, and there wasn't a huge collection of that usually in commercial bridal places. So I was like, that all gave me ideas. So I wanted to offer all of that, but with quality. And also it needed, for me, I wanted my designs to look angelic and very, soft, very feminine. So yeah, I think that's how I got the name.
Ange Mariage. And that's French, right?
That's French, yeah. My school in Egypt was French, and I grew up speaking French with my teachers. Were most of them French. It was a Catholic school. All the sisters were the nuns there were French, coming from France. So yeah, I speak French as second language.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. Well, good thing you moved to Canada then.
I know. Yeah, we have both languages.
What does it mean?
What?
Ange Mariage?
Ange Mariage is like angelic wedding, angelic marriage. It's,
Yeah, well,
wedding of an angel.
Makes sense, totally.
Yeah.
So you said you worked as a bridal consultant. What would that position involve?
So brides would book with the store I worked in to come in and then work with a stylist. I was one of them to style a head-to-toe look. I would take her measurement, see her body shape, what suits her, what doesn't suit her, and also take a theme, like her wedding theme, what is she looking for, and then have good knowledge of the brands that we offer in our department store to see like, your wedding theme would fit in this brand or that brand, or your body type is better with A-line or mermaid, and then we'd go from there to pick the dress.
So basically you're there to make them look good.
Yeah, say yes to the dress.
Right.
Exactly. I was the woman wearing black.
Right.
I was that woman.
So you were doing this. Was it always your plan to start your label?
Yeah.
Always, okay.
It was always my plan. I started university with the aim to start my label one day. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur and have my own label, work on my own designs. So it was the plan.
Why?
I think when you're an artist, you want to work on your art. You know, I think it would be. I never worked as a fashion designer for another brand. But I think when you work for another brand, you have to stick with the head designers or the owner's vision, and then it's more of a job than it is
That
creating your
versus I'm making my stuff.
exactly.
Totally makes sense. I totally get it.
It's the hard way though, because you starting, you're broke, you need another full-time job, to finance your collection, which is something I still do. Like, I launched in November, and it was a struggle to launch that, especially in couture, because it's expensive, right? It needs very high quality materials, good embroiderers, good pattern sewers working with you, people who are very skilled. So it's a lot of financial burden.
Yeah, no, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. Because it's easier to just show up, boom, do your thing, get your check, and then every 2 weeks it's
I
done.
know, yeah.
Versus now, you're like, everything is on you. Like, everything is on you.
Everything, literally, yeah.
Talking about that, I guess you have to work with a team. How do you choose the people that work with you on Ange Mariage?
That was the hardest part, especially here in Halifax. Like, the options weren't a lot.
Wait, you didn't have classmates and stuff?
I did, yeah, but again, like, most of them they went and did their own labels, or
right.
moved out of Halifax. Most of them were out of the province,
Oh, they
anyways.
just came
Yeah,
to-
yeah. So it was different directions. Many of them did not do couture, like fast fashion, or what I mean, like, is casual looks or stuff. So it's yeah, it was to find people who are very skilled in the couture world. It was very tough,
And
but then
expensive?
and expensive. And expensive. So yeah, when I worked as a bridal consultant, I got many connections in that field, and we had a whole alteration team. So I started, checking with people if they'd like to work with me on something very different as freelancers. And yeah, so it came from there. And I was really blessed with people who are very skilled and very good at what they do. So
Okay.
we're a great team. A small team, but a great team.
So, like your November, what did you call it? Like the thing you did?
The launching.
The launch in
Yeah.
November?
Yeah.
How much prep work goes into that? What would that involve?
Since I'm still starting, I decided to have ready-to-wear collections that are available
is
online. Ready-to-wear collections are like more reduced than custom collections in couture. So in the couture world, if, say, I have a bride and her wedding soon, and she wants a customized gown, so she has to book an appointment with me, and then we discuss what she wants, and then start making a dress only for her. But the ready-to-wear collection is, you just have a theme, an idea, and then you have a ready-to-wear range of dresses. My collections are small, niche collections, so 6-7 dresses maximum, inspired by a specific theme. So my first one, which is this dress is from, it was lovebirds, and it was inspired by lovebirds and the bonding between them. So it was 6 dresses, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna start with a mini collection, test the market, test my ideas, the production and everything, and then go from there. So I started with lovebirds, and then now I'm preparing another collection.
When will that one be ready?
Well, it should be ready in August.
Okay.
Yes, before
Okay.
going to Vancouver Fashion Week.
So
Yeah.
fall.
Yeah.
For the November one, was that launched at a fashion week, or you just did like
It was just my launching, and then I presented this collection at the Atlantic Bridal Week, and it was really, really good. It's a huge event. It took place in the convention center, and it was the first show of Ange Mariage. It was most of the brands there, they are big labels, or labels that have been in the Atlantic Fashion Week wedding week for a long time. So for me, it was the first time. So it was a lot of pressure. Actually, my booth was right next to David's Bridal.
Oh, did you see people you used to work with them?
Yeah, and also it's like they've been in the industry for forever. And I was like, oh my God, okay, okay. But also it made me see the strength that I have, and also like how different my stuff can be, and they also have their customers, and it was great. So yeah, no, it was amazing.
No, couture is hard. And then so you had the theme Lovebirds. So from having that theme Lovebirds to the launch, what happens in between?
So you have the theme, you start designing, It's like I usually draw between 60 to 100 gowns.
And then you narrow it down to 6?
I narrow it down.
How do you
I
even
keep
use
eliminating.
that?
I keep
Yeah.
eliminating. And then I keep taking from gowns.
How do you even draw 100 of those things?
I do that. I do that all the time. Even before I sleep, I can have my sketch and draw if I have an idea.
Yeah, that's what you close your eye and you see the thing.
Yeah, sometimes I go to sleep and I'm about to sleep and I have an idea and I have to go. Write it down, at least write it down to be able to. Sometimes I'd be at my full-time job and then I'm working and then I have an idea. I have to at least write it down, to draw the sketch after. It's an ongoing process in the designer's head. It never stops. Yeah.
So I guess it's hard enough that you have to do 100 things, but then you have to now take the 100 down to 6.
You don't have to do 6. I decided to go for mini collection. Usually the collections are like 25 dresses.
Yeah,
or
but
more.
even 100 to 25.
Yeah.
Like, how are you gonna
It's like
what decides? What are the factors that decide what stays and what goes?
The theme, your feelings, of course, what you like about them, if they match your theme, if they match your mood boards, the color palette. Also, when you are starting, I feel it's very smart to think about production because you have very limited capacity for production, right? And also somewhat a limited budget. So you need to think about the fabrics that's going to be involved, the trims, the beading. So, for example, I can't start with a fully beaded 3 meter.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money and it's a lot of work. And if you don't have a big team, like I'm not Dior, if I don't have the workshop of Dior, it's gonna be hard to actually produce that gown.
Yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. Yes.
Yeah.
So this is how I pick the dresses, like how to do something that perfectly fits with my theme, my vision, quality, but also doable for me right now at this stage.
Did you have models wear the outfits?
Oh yeah, I had models wearing the not in the show. It was mainly on mannequins. And then I had for my photo shoots models wearing them, and I had a lookbook with models wearing them. Yeah, it's on my Instagram page.
Yeah, So I guess I love how you're leading the topic to
I
once again.
I jump from one topic to another.
Let's talk about the Instagram, being in fashion, being in design, creating all these things. You kind of have to be on Instagram, being on social media. How is that for you?
That was one of the hardest. I'm not very good with Instagram and social media.
I don't think you're being nice to yourself because your engagements are great. Like, to me, it's about how each individual picture, whatever is, how people react to those things, and you have really, really good engagement.
Well, yeah, it's something I learned on the way. I started, very confused. What's the difference between a story and a reel? And then I had to learn about it because, well, when you're starting, you are the one person who wears many hats, right? So I am responsible of my social media, my production, everything. So it was a little bit hard to start, but then now once you have a style for your brand and a branding technique that you feel comfortable with and suits your brand, and then you go from there, it becomes way easier. But it's very important. We live at an age that it's really important. It's social media.
Social media. I mean, and then like the writings you do on there, the captions, all those things. There's so much thoughts that go into it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The captions. I always think about it from, an artistic perspective or from brand perspective. Who would you rather wear your designs? Your brand persona. How do you always keep that in mind, even when picking your model? Does she fit with your brand persona? Does she have that, in French they call it the allure. It's like, does she have that, air to her? Wearing that specific design, does it suit her? You always think about your brand's persona, and you make sure you have that on your page and on your website, because this is your image. This is how a bride will decide, oh, this brand really fits me, suits me, you know, it suits what I have in mind for my wedding. So it's different approaches, I guess. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. Okay,
A
so
lot
now
of
you're preparing for Vancouver Fashion Week.
Yeah.
What's the, I guess, process and the work you're doing to get ready for that?
So they actually contacted me after I launched, right after I launched, which was pretty early in my career. And they were like, we love your designs. We want them on our runway.
Holy shit.
They wanted on the runway, like the one that is past, and I wasn't ready because they wanted more than 12 dresses or 12 dresses at least.
Holy
and
shit.
I have like mini collections.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I'm not ready now. They were like, are you ready for the fall in October? For spring, summer for the next 2024, because fashion seasons are ahead. And I was like, I can do that. And I was like, I had no idea how am I going to have the other 6 dresses or, you know, continue production. Like I still don't have. And I was like, okay, should I continue with Lovebirds? And I was like, well, let's have another mini collection and then make it a debut collection, like a debut collection for my brand on the runway of Vancouver Fashion Week, because it's a huge runway and it's really, really,
I mean, it's
big,
really
big.
Good. And they reached out to you.
They reached out to
me. How did that feel though?
How did I feel?
Yeah, them reaching out to you.
I was very happy, and you know the happy and nervous and mixed feelings and don't know what to do and how am I gonna even but of course overwhelmed, I guess is the word. But overwhelmed but happy and very, you know, I felt very accomplished. Yeah.
Wow, man, this is awesome. I'm having a wonderful time chatting with you. And I mean, I know you have a lot of things to do to get ready for Vancouver. But I was thinking, I'm gonna let you go with this question though. You've had this passion since you were a kid.
Yeah.
Falling apart. Even when it's difficult, you're still on this path. What are some things you do that keeps you doing this? Apart from that, you love it and you know it feels good. But what are the things you do or you have to do to keep doing what you're doing?
Sometimes it can be a lot and it can be overwhelming. So you need to be always spiritually connected. I think I work a lot on my spirituality and on my meditations and grounding myself and having always at least 3 hours for myself a day, just for myself. Having a routine that includes that and includes you working on grounding yourself, taking a deep breath and stay connected is very important to keep going, because if you kept going without any spiritual breaks, you'd be it's a burnout. It's very unhealthy. It can consume you. And I did not want my business to consume me. I always promised myself to just keep being spiritually connected and having time for myself, going for a walk every day, having time with my family and having, my priorities for myself. So I think that's what keeps me going and keeps my work being keeps me being passionate about my work instead of just starting to hate it because of how much stressful it is and start to, do that.
Yeah.
So I think, it's focusing on your own spirituality and staying connected and grounded is very important.
Wow, Yasmine, thanks for sharing your beautiful work and thank you for coming to the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. Really enjoyed it.